Hello, Mr. Matt back. We are going to be working today on the class project, and that project is to build a ring in Tinkercad. So in our class, we went ahead and played with our calipers, and we went ahead and pulled out the necessary information on the thickness of our fingers using our calipers. And now we're going to take that data that we measured and put that into action here in our design. So this is one of the first times we're actually taking data, real world data, and then having that inform what we are making in our design. So first thing I'm going to do when I'm making my ring design is I'm going to pull in the ring here, and we are done. See how easy that was? We had the ring design already here in the basic shapes. Super easy, super straightforward. But there, I knew, I'm just joking, we will be able to make our own ring, something custom. You kind of see what I'm going to be making over there on the left side. But there's a ring option here down in our basic shapes. And that shape you can just drag right into the design. You can scale or change it. You can actually rotate it, check and try to make it the size of your finger. And so for me, it was 19 millimeters, and so I will go ahead and change both of those. And so if I were to print this ring, and it's very likely that it would fit my finger. And let's see how tall it is. I'll go ahead and change that to a nice round number, 6 millimeters. And I'll go ahead and put that over there. Another option we can do as well is we can go ahead and pull out this cylinder that is already pre-made. And what's really cool here is that we can use the same feature that we did with our dice design earlier and create kind of this rounding around the edges. And I can do that here by setting the radius. No, not the radius, the bevel. We can actually make it a little rounded, but it's still fairly sharp. So let me go ahead and add a couple more segments there. And you can see I can get that rounding. Radius here I can define as 19. Millimeters, which is the same as my other ring over here. But you can see here, this one's a little bit different because it's the radius and not the diameter. So, that's interesting. I got to go ahead and change that. So it's not my diameter that's 19, it's the radius. So that's half of that. So in order for me to get 19, I need to go 8.5. And therefore, now I have a ring that is a similar diameter. Not 19. What am I doing, Mr. Matt? 9.5. Okay, there we go. Awesome. So now I got a similar diameter there. I've kind of beveled that edge. I've added bevel segments. You can see there as they stack on as I add them to my beveling. Creates a more rounded edge. You can still see them stacked on there, but it creates that nice rounded feel. One of the problems, though, is it's still sharp on the inside. That inner circle is sharp. Now, we can do a number of things there to solve that. We can use a cutting tool and create some type of cone effect here. And I can rotate this, and I can use my hole tool, and I can bring that in here and kind of bevel the inside, similar to that. But I'm not going to do that today. So we have other shapes here that we can use there. So we have cylinder, we have the ring. There's also a nice torus that you can put out there as well. That is nice and rounded. It will probably feel a little strange on the finger. Let's go ahead and do that. You can scale the tube size. So it can be super thin, be a little bit larger. So if we increase that tube size, it's going to cut into your finger and you're going to have to change the radius size. You can see from the ring design that the torus is actually on the inside. So you can see some of those features just don't add up to my size. So that's where we're going to have to maybe even pull in our ruler tool so that we can get a measurement here. We can eyeball it if we had to. We can center it on the line and then go ahead and count our squares. Or we can actually measure it here from the edge. However you want to do it, you can do that. But today I'm going to make something a little bit more fun. I'm just going to take a shape. And it's going to be our kind of, what is this? Kind of a cone, kind of paraboloid design here. So nice round object, very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a lot thinner. So I don't want it to sit on my finger too heavily. So we'll make it kind of scrunchy there. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to lift it up a tad to see what I'm going to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our duplicate feature so I can create kind of a rounding effect. And I'm going to go ahead and hit duplicate. I'm going to take that new object that I've just made, and what we're going to do is I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to say, let's say 10 degrees. I'm going to rotate it 10 degrees, and if I had to, I could just go ahead and click into there and say perfect. So I've kind of created this almost like a fin, like think of it as the top of a shark fin, and I've now rotated it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just now go up here and click my duplicate feature and see what type of cool shape I can make as it goes all the way around. And I'm following this final edge right here, see the blue edge, and I'm going to try and get it all the way around, all the way to the other side. And there we are. I think I've got it all the way around. Now look at that cool kind of intricate design there with all these kind of cut edges and angles and these little cavities right here, and they kind of walk down. It's a really nice look here. All right, I like that. I think that looks really cool, but I can't get my finger through here. That's no big deal. I'm going to take our cylinder tool, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn that into a hole. Perfect. I'm going to bring that up here. And again, I'm just moving this around, not trying to be super exact. I just kind of want to get it in the right orientation. Turn it 90 degrees, and now I'm going to use our awesome align tool. And we're going to align that to the center of both the middle and the top. Looks like I made a mistake here. As always, we just undo. One thing that I forgot to do is I forgot to group all of those objects. And now remember, there's like 15 or 20 of those objects in there. What I need to do is I need to group them all together so I can treat it as one solid object. So now let's go ahead and select and do our align tool. And let's see how we can work here to the center and to the center. Now you can see it didn't scrunch down all of those shapes. It didn't reorient them to be perfectly aligned. It kept it as one solid object. So that's perfect. And now what I'm going to do here with the hole is I'm going to come in here. I want to move it over all the way through, just have it punch straight through the middle of my ring. But I have forgotten something. Let's go ahead and pull that aside. I have forgotten that I need to have this hole punched at the size of my finger. I totally forgot. Luckily, I have a good memory and it has brought me back here. So, if we remember those dimensions, I needed 19 as my diameter. Let's go ahead and make it nice and round. We got to hit both that and the Z. And now my hole punch can go ahead and be the right size. So let's go ahead and align that right through the middle. I'm going to use my arrow keys and just push it through the object like that. Make sure it comes all the way through. Perfect. Let's go ahead and multi-select. I'm going to group that, and that hole is going to go ahead and punch straight through. Let's see if it's going to refresh. There's a lot of objects here that it's cutting through, and so sometimes Tinkercad can get a little bogged down. Let's see if it refreshes. Let's see if I can grab it, move it a little bit. Sometimes maybe we'll have to try it again. See, it's already got there. Let's see if I can, there it is. It finally caught up. Sometimes because it had all those objects, it was really, really thinking. It was punching the holes through every single one of those objects, and it finally finished. Well, it's not all the way done because I kind of want like, kind of like a diamond on the top or something like that. I think that kind of looks pretty cool. Let's go over here and find a nice round cone. Let's go ahead and rotate it 180 degrees so it's straight up to the top. Let's go ahead and bring it over here by my design. And again, it doesn't have to be super there, just enough so I can be in the right area. Let's go ahead. That looks a little too big. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. It looks kind of silly. I don't want it to be that big. Let's kind of ballpark it here. Is that about the size I'm looking for? That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and select those. And again, we're going to use our align tool. I'm going to align, let's see, where am I going to align it to? We'll definitely go in the middle here. Let's see if we can get it right in the middle. There. All right, so it's right in the middle of our little tool there. Very cool. Now, whenever time you're using a shape, why don't you click on it and take a look. I can change the radius of the top radius, and so that kind of flares out that way. I can flare in. I like that. A little bit of a bigger base. I think if I printed that, it would be a little bit more sturdy. Let's make it a nice round number of 3. Let's try in the base radius. Let's look what happens. Ooh, that flares the top radius out. We can either go a little bit shallower. I like that kind of, that's a little big there. Let's do about 50, do 41, a little too much. Do 15, that looks pretty good. And then let's check maybe the number of sides so it's nice and smooth. If I don't have as many sides, if I only have 3 sides, all of a sudden I have a triangle there. If I go to 5 sides, I got kind of like that diamondy look. Let's see if I go to 6. Wow, that looks pretty cool. I like that. I got kind of that diamond look there. And then let's go ahead and group both of these objects together, because I'm going to put something on the top of the ring of the diamond area here. And so when I manipulate it and I do my alignment, I want to make sure that the whole ring plus the top all go together. And so let's go ahead and group them. And because it's not a hole, it's actually a shape. It just kind of embeds right into it. And let's see what else we got down here. Ooh, a nice little star. I'm going to place that right on top of that surface there. That is a big honkin' star. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. There we go. So it automatically chose that work plane. Let's go ahead and choose the work plane back. Now I've got my floating star. Totally cool, but it is on that surface level. So let's go ahead and do an alignment. Let's go center, and then let's go center, and there we are. Very cool. I'm going to click on my star, and I'm going to make it a little bit taller. Let's make it about 3. So it's a little taller. And I'm going to switch that star to a hole, because I want that star to go in to that shape. And I want to punch out that star in the middle. Let's see how long it takes. Maybe taking a minute here to kind of catch up. Should see it update here soon. Let's see. It is still updating. There it is. Finally caught it. So there you go. Now I got my star punched out the center. And I have my ring there. And I've got all those shapes that we duplicated using the duplicate feature. And then we went ahead and punched the ring hole all the way through. And so you can see I have a very similar ring as the one I made before. Now one of the cool things is I went ahead here and I'm going to show you, let's use box, and I'm going to turn it 180 degrees. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when I go and print it, it is too difficult to print on one of these little edges here. If I had to print this, it would create too many, I would need too many standoffs, and I'd be wasting some amount of filament in order to print that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually print it ring down and hit D, so it goes straight to the bottom. And so when I print that, I'm only going to need some organic standoffs, a little bit here for the center of the ring. I can also, as an option, and you can just try this and experiment. There's nothing, no wrong answer in this. Let's go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees here, and then I can print down. So as long as, yeah, it looks like that shape is just a little bit underneath. It might be just fine. Yep. And so it's going to print a ton of standoffs in order to print the base. So yeah, that might be a little bit better. That actually may be less filament in the long run than printing this way. But you can go ahead and bring it into the slicer tool, and we can actually see if there is a difference. We use the Bamboo Studio, and you can actually import both designs and see which one actually uses less filament and which one actually prints faster. My guess is this one is going to use less filament and will print faster than this one. I think those standoffs might be a little bit big coming all the way down, so I actually think this might be the better way to print. But that being said, we have completed our ring design. So we learning basically how to use the duplicate feature. We did a hole punch. We didn't use the existing ring tool. We actually created something unique and fun with some really fun geometry. And I think that's it. I think we'll see you next time.